The gentleman's recognized for how much time?
I just take the ranking member spot. But thank
Gentleman
you.
from Connecticut, how much time?
Mr. Speaker, members of the House,
How much time?
3 minutes. I apologize.
The gentleman for California is recognized for 3 minutes.
thank you. Mr. Speaker, this legislation is a shell game. It's a trick. It's a Trojan horse. If an employer wants to give you time off, as the gentleman from Connecticut said, the employer can give you time off, can give you comp time to go to your parent-teacher conferences, to take care of an ill member of your family, take care of yourself. But they don't do that. So they're going to dangle overtime here. If you're willing to work overtime, sometime in the future they might give you that comp time. But it's not your comp time. It's the comp time that the employer will choose when and where you can take it. So if you work overtime this week, and your child's very sick next week, and you ask for the time, he says, no, we're busy. I can't give you the time off. You lose. Your employer can bank up to 160 hours of your comp time before there's any obligation. That's almost 4 weeks of overtime. For many people, that overtime is really important. But this bill says your employer can go to you and say, you can have the overtime, which may be very important to your family budget. It was when I was young and married and had children. I worked every hour of overtime I could get when I was in the Merchant Marines working on oil tankers. I worked every hour I could get in the canneries. I worked every hour I could get in the refineries because I needed that for my family budget. I didn't need comp time, I needed income. But now the employer says you can have overtime, but I'm going to pay you back in comp time. And if you say no, you have no protections. Your employer might say, okay, I'll find somebody else. Or your employer may offer to you it again. You say, I can't do it. I need the overtime. You know, and then you can be fired. And they want to keep saying you're protected and you have the same rights as people in the federal employment system. You don't. There's nothing in the law that prevents your employer from firing you because you can't work the schedules your employer wants. They can say it all day long, but it's not in this legislation. And if your employer goes broke before the time that they have to give you your comp time, you're out. And if you don't like the way your employer treated you and fired you because you couldn't possibly do the comp time or you couldn't do the overtime, you can go sue in court. How many middle-class families can go sue their employer in court, have that kind of money? This is what it has always been since 1997 when this bill was introduced. 1997. Yes, the workplace has changed. States and cities and employers are giving people paid time off so they can take care of their families when they need to take care of their families. But that's not what this bill is. It's an assault on the 40-hour work week. It's an assault on overtime. An employer could get the work and never really have to pay the overtime. And if you're in a seasonal employment, if you're in an up-and-down business, you work like crazy, and he says, okay, if things are slower this part of the season, take that time off. You don't get to say, well, I don't really need that time off. I want to save that time for a parent-teacher conference. I'm sorry, we're going to be busy when that parent-teacher conference is. You get what's going on here? This isn't women-friendly. This isn't mom-friendly. This isn't family-friendly. This is friendly to people who want to get rid of overtime and break down the 40-hour week that protects families so they're not working all the time.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm now pleased to yield 2 minutes.